Alright, I'm gonna re-record this, do it a little quicker, all that. So, I was watching a show, and I sort of realized I kind of want to make a video about some things I've been thinking, because I think this is advice I would love to hear before making massive mistakes. So, the story starts, right, in my last relationship. Not this one that I'm currently in, but the one before. That was my first serious relationship. I had one in middle school, and that was, I kind of forced myself to be in a relationship. Still sort of friends with the person involved, but I heard they liked me, and I was like, oh, I'm getting to that age. I guess I better start dating. And I just took what I had, right? And that was really stupid. Like, ridiculously dumb. And so that didn't go anywhere. So anyway, first real relationship. And I was extremely lonely for 90% of the time before that. And I don't want to say not well liked, but unknown, and most people at school simply thought I was autistic and weird, because I just didn't talk to anyone, and I speedwalked everywhere because I really hated being in the hallways with a burning fucking passion, and I would not eat lunch either. So I was purely fueled by anxiety, walking around the hallways, and I was disgustingly ugly. And I talked to no one, except for a very select few people. So, as you could imagine, I basically talked to no one like 99% of the time. And I had a tiny, tiny online friend group. That's who I would talk to. Okay? So, that sort of sets up exactly what you think is going to happen, where I was very overly attached to this girlfriend. We shared a hobby as well, which was great at the time, initially. It was not great because of, by, I guess, attachment style at the time, I would feel unbelievably guilty for indulging in that hobby on my own, because I know my partner also shared the same hobby, and we also shared extremely similar experience regarding how we got into that hobby, and sort of our, like, there was differences, and so it was very fascinating to hear those differences, because it was in a sort of way I could understand, and it was sort of my, realm of my realm of interest, but it was different. It was like an alternate reality me. It was very cool. It was neat. So they I wouldn't say they were a bad partner, right? We ended things for other reasons. Okay, I don't like how things ended, and things are awkward because of it, but it's okay. Anyway, what ended up happening, right, is I was unbelievably overly attached, right? I would go to school, text them at lunch when I got service, and then I would go home and try to talk to them. And it was long distance, too. Fun. Right? And I was also starting my transition. That was not a good time. Trying to redefine myself completely, and then you'll see why this is extra bad, right? So during this very pivotal time in my life, I got into a relationship, and I got overly attached because it felt like one of the only good things I had going for me. And I just did not remember to keep myself in mind. It's not good for you. This is bad. This is extremely bad. So every day I would spend most of my free time with my partner, doing what my partner wanted, for the most part. Like, I obviously had say and input on this, but that's how it would go. And I would basically just talk to them. A friend group that I had, and was one of my first real friend groups, dissolved sort of out of nowhere, and I won't talk about it, but it sort of dissolved as the relationship began, and I don't know if that was deliberate or not. I still was in everyone's good graces, because, I mean, no one really blamed me for anything that happened. And I also apologized, even though they all said, hey, like, you've literally done nothing wrong. Like, at all. Like, you literally have no reason to apologize. Anyway, so that was fun, right? So that friend group, you're still in contact, but it's dissolved. It's only recently kind of gotten halfway where it was before, but it's kind of still a little messed up. But I would basically only talk to her, and I would just not talk to anyone else. Like, at all. Stop talking to some of my closest friends, and I just stopped working on hobbies. I stopped taking time for myself. That was bad. Who would have guessed? You cannot be the person your partner fell in love with if you don't remember to be you. Right? I was very overly attached, and you know, it's very tempting to do this kind of thing in a relationship, but just remember, spending every waking moment with your partner, even if you really enjoy their presence, is not healthy. Right? Maybe if you're doing some parallel play, that is okay, right? And what I mean by parallel play is you both do your own separate things, but you can talk to each other as you do it, and you both are indulging in your own separate actions and hobbies, and that's okay. Even if you share hobbies, you should still not always try to work together with those hobbies, right? If you both like music, don't always be working on music together. Don't use that so both of you, anytime you want to do anything with music, have to be working on a new song together, right? That's bad. Okay? Remember, that's fucking bad. Of course, I would always feel guilty for indulging in my hobbies on my own, which is why I bring this up, and would want to work on them when she wanted to work on them, and only when she wanted to work on them together, because I would feel bad working on my stuff on my own, and I still have not fully gotten back to where I was. I was making a programming language. I need to make the next release. It's been like a year or two. It's bad. So that's where the releases have gone. If you're here for that, by the way, I used to stream that. Your transition sort of got in the way. But anyway, so in this whole thing, I ended up completely losing who I was. And that is bad. Not only because, if the relationship ended, what am I picking up the pieces of? There's nothing of me left. But even as the relationship continues, you cannot give 80 or 90% of yourself. You should not even really be giving more than 50%. I know that seems kind of low, but 50, maybe 60, maybe, is all you can give. Do not, even if you want to spend time all the time, do not do that. Explain why you might want some distance. Right? I just told my partner, hey, I'm watching a TV show right now. But when I'm done with a few episodes, we could still hang out. That sounds really great. I didn't drop what I was doing. I didn't stop myself from doing things I liked to go do other things, yes, that I do like. And I would say, yeah, there's nothing more important than spending time with my partner. And this TV show is not more important. It's just different. It is simply just a different activity. And I do spend enough time with my partner for them to know that I love and cherish them. And I, again, try to even spend a bit more time on top of that, but I at least, any day, try to put in that much. And there's days where one of us or both of us are just not feeling up to the task and just not feeling good and need time for ourselves, right? That's okay. You don't always have to be spending time together. It is fine. And I wish I would have known that. I would say this is a me problem, right? I don't know if my partner realized that me coming home from school, the time that I spent away from them during school, well, yes, they might have had time to recharge and they might have had time for their own hobbies because they were not in school. I did not. I woke up, went to basically fucking hell, aka school, and then went and spent time with them. And there was no time between then. There was eating and sleeping as the time between those activities. Those were my breaks. And so I completely lost myself to trying to be a good partner, but I was not being a good partner. I wasn't being the person that my partner had fallen in love with. I was trying to attach myself as a small piece of a whole, when in reality, both partners should be their own wholes. They shouldn't try to be a half. That's not how that works, right? Your relationship isn't one whole, right? And each of you being a part. No, it's two separate entities. You both are your own people. You simply work together because you love each other. You don't try to consume each other. You don't try to let the relationship be your life, right? You're not trying to live the relationship. You're trying to live your life, and the relationship is the small part, right? You aren't a small part of the relationship. The relationship is a small part of you. Make sense? Cool. That's how it should be. And I didn't realize, and that was really stupid. And I don't know if my partner realized what was happening, but I was completely fucking losing myself. And that is not good for you. Because when the relationship ended, it was awful. And even during the relationship, I knew I had slipped away from my friends. There was a small break period before the very end, right? Where we were very distant from each other. And I finally spent some time with friends in person, and I finally went out and I rode my bike in the nice weather, and I took some time alone and to just kind of live. And honestly, for a small moment, I think I was really seeing it, what exactly was going on, what exactly was wrong with this whole ordeal that was going on. And I was finally, I think, grasping that, like, hey, I've been missing out on quite a lot. And, you know, it's, yeah, I love my partner. I love spending time with them. But, God, you know, I do miss these small things of just enjoying the weather, spending time with friends, going to stores, hanging out with my sister. She's awesome. Right? Hanging out with my friend Charlie. These small things that I just did not do. I wasn't doing. And I love doing those things. And those are big parts of my life. Right? These people and these activities sort of define me. Right? And I wasn't indulging in them. I was completely disconnecting myself from things that were healthy and were enjoyable, and I should have still been doing. I should have still held healthy relationships outside of my partner at the time, right? And I didn't. And I don't know if my partner saw that. But, yeah, so, that's, if they did see it and they didn't say anything, I don't know, that's a dick move, but I don't really fault them for anything because it was simply me not realizing. And I'll be real, I'm kind of glad it did end, especially the way it ended. It kind of left me a little distraught because I was the one who had to end things. And I think I did it for the right reason. But then the way my partner, or my ex partner, handled it, uh, of, yeah, I don't really want to get into it. It just kind of hurt me a lot. Um, and that might just be me sort of being insecure and thinking I've done something wrong when their actions were not really representative of me doing anything wrong, but more so of needing distance. Um, and but the things I said sort of afterwards were hurtful, and I've recently gained contact with them again, and after some dissociative episodes and contacting them sort of unintentionally when I wasn't really aware of anything that I was. Anyway, bad times. Um, and it really gave me some fucking closure. I'll be so real with you. Uh, they're sort of like, oh, I held no ill will towards you, and it's like, well, you didn't really make it sound that way. But okay. It was whatever, right? So, yeah, that's that's the story of my previous relationship, and I'm much happier with what I have now. My current partner is really great, and I feel like I can be myself while still being in a relationship with them. I don't feel like I'm losing everything to be in a relationship with them, and it's very weird. And I'll be honest in saying that I'm still not 100% recovered from my last relationship, and I think it has given me a massive amount of anxiety and fear. The fear of losing myself again, and then being left with no pieces to pick up. And being left with a shattered, soulless person is what it felt like, who doesn't know or remember who they are anymore. So, it was a fun time, I'll say. But I carry a lot of anxiety. I think generally still, and I need to recover from it, and my partner is helping me to do that. And I don't want them to feel like it's their responsibility, and yet they say that they love me and they want to help me through it. So I guess I can't stop them from helping me. It's terrifying. I hate feeling like I'm burdensome on them, but I don't know. They tell me I'm not, so I guess I'm not. But I feel like I am. So yeah, that's that's my story. Hope you enjoyed. There's my trauma dump for the week. But yeah, this is a warning for you. Don't do what I did. Please, for the love of God, take care of yourself. And if you realize that you haven't had time for your hobbies, that you haven't had time to be who you were before a relationship began, then reevaluate that relationship. If your partner is demanding all of this time of you, then that's not someone I think you want to be with. And you need to have a conversation about this. You need to communicate when you're not feeling up to talking, or when you need time to yourself. And there are days where you're going to spend more or less time with your partner, but it should average out to maybe 50-50, right? It should average out to feeling like you're never going to give more than 50% of yourself. And it doesn't feel like on your days away from your partner that you're just recovering, right? Because that's not good either. Remember that your free time is yours, and time during work and school, that isn't time away from your partner. That's just you have no choice in that matter, right? Like, yes, you're not with your partner during that, but you're not exactly allowed to be you either. This is not time where you're allowed to be yourself, at least for 99.999% of jobs. This is not time for you to be yourself, and you need that time. And remember to only spend enough time with your partner for the bare minimum for them to know that you love them. And if they don't know that, then I'd say you have a problem. if they don't feel like they're at least a little bit cherished, then you're doing something wrong. But if you feel like you're spending every waking moment trying to be with them, that's bad. Even if you deeply love them, even if you're deeply infatuated, do not ever give more than 50% of yourself. As selfish as that sounds, you cannot be the person your partner fell in love with if you give everything away. Your partner fell in love with you. Now you have to be you. That doesn't mean don't change, but don't be your relationship. Anyway, that's a cautionary tale. I'll see you queers later.